Welcome into ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and Tenitra. Coming up on today's show, could Ronald Acuna, nephew, be an MVP candidate this year?
And okay, we know the Hawks are going to hawk from time to time, but do you really think that we're back to square one?
And I think, and for the culture, Ed Reed and Bethune-Cookman lost out on an opportunity. It's ATL Day Ones. Let's go.
This is ATL Day Ones, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. And it starts now.
I want to start off by saying thank you for making ATL Day Ones your first listen of the day. Remember, we're free and available wherever you download your podcast, and wherever you download your podcast, make sure you leave us a 5-star review. We really appreciate that from you in advance. Today's episode of ATL Day One is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/Locked On today to get started. And folks, if you're tired of listening to us on the phone, how about you go ahead and do this? Download the Roku or the Amazon app, and you can check us out on the big screen. All you got to do is type in that search box, Locked On Sports Atlanta, and we'll pop right up. Go ahead and do it today. T, this is something that, over the weekend, we had the Braves Fest going on, and all the conversations about Dansby Swanson and replacing him and Vaughn Grissom and all that stuff. We'll get to that in just a little bit. But I think the most important thing, though, T, that came out of this event was the fact that nephew Ronald Acuna, came out and said that he is 100% healthy and he don't want to bat DH no more. So when you think about that, though, T, that is the one thing that I feel like was will be the big difference for for Ronald Acuna, because I think that before he was hurt, he was the number one candidate for MVP. And when you're talking about a year and a half or so after this ACL injury, you have to put him in that conversation as we get ready to ramp up for pitchers and catchers reporting on the 13th of February.
Yes. And we know that there were moments in time where you would see Brian Snitker rotate people right in that leadoff position. And people had solid moments, players had solid moments, but nobody was as good as Ronald Acuna Jr. in that leadoff position. And so I'm excited that he's saying he's 100%. And if Ronald Acuna Jr. says he's 100%, I believe that with all 5 of his tools, the entirety of Major League Baseball needs to watch out. And I also thought it was kind of cool because, when you get that cosign from your best friend, then everybody knows for real, you're back. And Ozzy Albies said, oh, yeah, this is the Ronald from like 2018, 2019 is really the one he called out. And I said, wow, you're getting that from him. You're getting that from Ronald Acuna Jr. You're getting a little feedback from Brian Snitker. So I feel like he is really on mission to prove something. And I am excited because I believe that is going to do nothing but help the Braves. Advantage Braves, disadvantage the rest of the league, their division, and any and everybody who gets in his way.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody's on notice because I've been checking out a couple of clips from down there in Venezuela. He's been playing on the team. He has been
very
an absolute ball.
Yes.
And the way he's swinging that
so crisp.
that bat tee.
Yeah. And with the strength, everything.
Yeah, because he's, he talked about how it just was a struggle for him to kind of really just get into, swings and get every inch of his power, into a particular pitch or whatever he wants to, put his bat, take that bat off his shoulder in it. And when you have a guy talking about that, it's wearing on him mentally to be able to do that. And I think that with him saying that he doesn't want to DH anymore, I think that's a really good thing as well, because hey, if he's out there in the field, we already know what type of defender he can be when he's fully healthy. And I don't know about you, but T, I am super uber excited about this guy coming back fully healthy. And I think that, from a production standpoint, we're going to see a lot more than what we saw last season. Now, speaking of, Dansby Swanson and that those being a topic of conversations, but I think that one thing that a lot of people are talking about, and I know coming in around the winter baseball meetings, general managers, a lot of people were thinking that or assuming that Alex Anthopoulos was going to go out and make a a run at a veteran shortstop, not one of the big money guys, but a guy that may be able to come in and kind of push a Vaughn Grissom or supplant Vaughn Grissom and be able to solidify him in that spot and maybe move Vaughn Grissom to left field. But it seems like that everybody is okay going into this season with Vaughn Grissom potentially competing for this spot. But does that bring up a level of concern for you, being that he played second base last year? I know he was a shortstop, coming up through the minors, but a lot of people think that long term he doesn't potentially fit in that position.
Well, all I can say is somebody better go talk to Uncle Ron, the real Uncle Ronnie, Ron Washington, because we know when Ron Washington made the statements that he's made last season, actually towards the end of the season, he was so excited about the work that he'd been doing with Vaughn Grissom and into this offseason as well. To me, Austin Riley, Exhibit A. We know what Austin Riley looked like both at the plate and at third base before Ron Washington began tutoring him and really taking him under his wings. And he soared. I mean, we're talking about MVP candidates. There's one right there from last season. So I think that I trust Ron Washington. If he's saying that Vaughn Grissom is something special and he feels like he can mold him and shape him into the shortstop that at least can give you what Dansby gave you on some level. It may take him a few years to get to the Dansby level, but at least gives you some of that. I think that's great. And, sometimes competition is a good thing. So maybe the fact that Orlando Arcia is right there, kind of on nipping at his heels, sometimes competition also makes you step up your game. And listen, Brian Snitker has made it clear he won't be in left field. Like, he's not going to be competing. He's not going to be doing anything out there. The focus is on him at the shortstop position. I'm actually really encouraged by it because, again, if Ron Washington sees something in Vaughn Grissom, then I'm going to go with the good eye.
Yeah, I'm down, like, wholeheartedly agree, because when you think about what, being the infield whisperer that Uncle Ron is. So, I mean, like, if he says he can work with him, because he's the type of guy that doesn't give out that credit to especially to the young cats on the team. So when you talk about a guy being gifted and talented as Vaughn Grissom is, and then getting that stamp of approval from Uncle Ron, I'm not concerned at all, because when you think about the lineup that the Braves have, and if he can bring that production that he had, I think he had a 956 OPS in the first 20 some odd games that he played in. Obviously fell off towards the end of the season, but that's what you kind of look for when you're coming up in the big leagues. But if you can give anything close to what he had when he first came up, this is going to be a scary lineups, and I wouldn't be too concerned about him out in the field to play at the shortstop position. Now, speaking of getting in the field to play, how about this? We want you guys to get in the game. And when we're talking about the sports betting game, the sports book, the best sports book in America. How about this? FanDuel. That is your place to go. And if you're new to FanDuel, that's even better. They have so many great features that make betting on sports fun and easy. How about this? For all you new customers, that to join today to get started with $150 in free bets, guaranteed, when you place your $5 bet. So you drop $5 in that bad boy, you're going to get $150 to go towards betting. So that's a no-brainer, right? How about this? Let me tell you what you can bet on. The championships games are going on this weekend. The Chiefs, they're in that bad boy. The Bengals, the Chiefs and Bengals are going to go at it. The 49ers, not the Cowboys. For all you Cowboys fans, I told y'all.
Shade.
Yes, it's going down. Like, it's going down. So make sure you go to FanDuel and, and check that thing out, because you don't want to miss out on what's going on right here at FanDuel. It is the #1 sports book in America. So what you need to do, place your $5 bet to get $150 in free bets, win or lose, at FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports book partner of the NFL.
So you literally invest $5 and get 30 times that on your return, $150.
Come on,
you got to go. You got to go to FanDuel.
Easy
now,
money.
Listen, Jarvis talked about the fact that FanDuel will get you in the game. Now, the Hawks, they were in the game Friday night. No question. Jarvis and I had an opportunity to see it up front and personal. And I tell you, the Hawks worked it to perfection against the Knicks. Only the Hawk on Saturday against the lowly Charlotte Hornets.
Lowly.
lowly. We're talking about a team that before they beat the Hawks had the worst record in the Eastern Conference, 12 wins. We're halfway through the season. I did say 12 wins. And yet the Hawks blew a 19-point lead to this team. So I'm going to start with this question, Jarvis, but then I'm going to actually make a statement as well, because I don't feel like it, and we're going to talk about the things that concern us, but I don't feel like the concern is, oh my goodness, they lost it on the last second, or the officials came out today and after, the NBA report came out that said, hey, Jalen Johnson didn't commit a foul. We all knew that. It wasn't about the foul. It wasn't about any of that. It was about the fact that you let go of a 19-point lead when you took your foot off the gas defensively in the third quarter, and then you started settling for jump shots in the fourth quarter, and you had 7 turnovers, if I'm correct, at halftime. So how do you end up with 18? Those are where your issues lie, but we'll talk about those in a second. My first question to you, however, is the question of the day that everybody wants to know, which is, how in the Sam heck did Trae Young end up inbounding the ball?
I don't understand that. Like, and here's the thing where you kind of start seeing it from the perspective of Trae Young when it comes to being stubborn, right?
Yeah.
Because we all know Nate McMillan has been able to draw up plays and do game winning sets and everything like that, and not see and don't get necessarily the right look that you should get,
Right.
and and take a timeout and basically switch out. And we've seen that happen before, and they've won games. And you've had guys like Jalen Johnson on the inbounds and inbounded it and throwing a perfect pass to AJ Griffin to win a game. Those are the type of things that you should lean on at this point, at this juncture, because if you got your 6 foot 6 foot point guard trying to doggone inbound it over Mason Plumlee, like, come on, like, that does just, the math ain't mathing at this point. And I think that you have to make the necessary adjustment and understand that, and being a step ahead of the team, because if they're putting their big right there, they're going to put their tallest player out there right there to kind of guard the rim, so you won't be able to have any vision, so you can't see. So he is your best passer. Don't get me wrong. I get that. I understand that. However, like, you have to be able to make them think.
Yes.
If you're not making them think, if you're putting Trae Young on the inbounds, like, you're not making them think. And when you at some point, you got to be able to make the adjustment. You've made the adjustment by playing the rookies a little bit more, playing guys that you didn't necessarily feel earned playing time last year in Jalen Johnson. Giving him some more run. And we've seen the benefit of that. So once you see the benefit of those necessary moves, you got to keep making them. You still got to make those necessary moves. You can't continue to just bog down on how you feel about a certain situation. This situation is fluid when you're trying to win games in the NBA.
Right. And do what works for you until it doesn't work. And we've seen it work time and time again, where Jalen Johnson really has shown himself to be an effective passer, especially in those very, very high leverage situations. So if he's shown you that this season, why not give him another opportunity? Put every shooter you got. I mean, Trae, Bogey, DeJounte, everybody, even DeAndre Hunter was having a decent first half. I mean, anybody who can shoot the ball, whether it's going to be a drive, whether it's going to be a quick jumper, I don't care. Just put all the shooters on the floor, and please don't have a 6-footer out there trying to throw a ball over, because there are replays where literally John Collins is open, just as an example. He's open on the right side, on the right wing. Trae Young can't see him. Jalen Johnson could have seen him. So that's just one example of how that really shouldn't have worked out. Or when you have a situation where it's a delay of game. Well, that's kind of like a free timeout, for lack of a better term, because you didn't have any more. I get it. That said, then switch it up, because clearly what you did isn't working, and you had an opportunity to see what the Hornets defense was setting up as. So just go ahead and give your guys a signal to do something different, but that didn't happen. And you kind of look at that game, and it was frustrating because, again, you're talking about a 19-point lead and somehow a 4-point loss. Like, how'd that happen? And so it made me feel a way, because I was thinking to myself, Jarvis, okay, where is the biggest frustration? Where is the biggest concern? What is the thing that really made you scratch your head the most? I mean, was it what I said, which is that you blew a 19-point lead? Was it that you just lost to the lowly Charlotte Hornets, who had only won 12 games before they played you? Or is an issue for you the play calling of Nate McMillan, coupled with maybe some of the questionable plays by the players, but mostly Nate, in the last 1.1 seconds? Or was it the little tete-a-tete that we saw between Trae and Nate at the end of the game? Which one of those you feel like, that's the one that concerns me the most?
To be honest with you, I feel like probably the last piece, like the latter, the little dust up between Nick and Trey, because we understand what their relationship is. It's not the best,
Right.
right? And I think at some point, like, you can express your displeasure
Sure.
with what went down in a manly way. It was like, man, look, I ain't got time for that. I don't want to talk
Right.
about it right now, and
Yep.
then we can talk about it later, Coach. I'll give you a call, like.
Mhm.
Or it can be the opposite on the other end of that. Nate be like, all right, I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna let it breathe, let you breathe for a little bit, and then we can talk
Mhm.
about it later. And
Yeah.
we'll figure that bad boy out. Because at the end of the day, like, you are professionals. Like,
Mhm.
I know I haven't liked everybody that I've worked with in this
Right.
industry. Lord knows that there's some people that I would not hang around after hours. Like, so we have to understand that work. That goes the same for NBA team coaches
Sure
and
does.
players.
Yeah.
Even within the locker room, we already
Mhm.
know how John, JC, and Trey probably won't be seen at a club together anywhere, and that's
Right.
cool. You don't
Yep,
have to like
it's
each
okay.
other, but you have to make it work though when you're at work and you're getting paid to make it work. So I think
Yes.
that was a thing that was a little bit unfortunate to see. Just the confirmation of all the issues that have been going on off the court. So
Yeah.
don't confirm it at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Both of y'all. I'm not blaming either one. I'm saying both of you all don't confirm the issues that you all are having.
Yeah.
Handle that stuff behind the scenes, because
Mhm.
that's just like you're playing into what goes on in this world today that I have a big issue with. Everybody want to put everything out there. We live in an exposure society and all this crap. Everybody want to be exposed people and all that. So no,
Mhm.
man, handle that stuff internally, and then so when it comes to situations like these, you're
Mhm.
saying like, all right, yeah, I know I want to blow up. I know I probably want to cuss at coach right now, but nah, I'm gonna go ahead and let this bad boy breathe, and
Yeah.
I'm going on by my way, and then we're gonna try to get the dub on Monday. So
Yeah,
that's
I
it.
agree. Yeah, I agree. I think that the fourth one is of the choices is probably that one because again, yeah, ticked off that you blew a 19-point lead, but it's the NBA.
Yeah,
And that happens all the time. I mean,
it
the
happened.
lowly Lakers beat the darn Grizzlies. So come on, it happens.
Yeah.
But that said, I think the other piece there is again, do I want you to lose to the lowly Hornets? No, but everybody takes a weird L. And we know the Hawks can sleepwalk through some things sometimes.
No doubt.
Yeah. So you already knew the streak had to come to an end at some point, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was a little bit concerned about that play calling because I felt like, okay, Nate, are you overthinking it? Or are you not trusting these young players again? I mean, what is it? So it did concern me, but if I had to choose one, it would definitely be that back in that fourth, because again, and it's interesting. I heard a former player say this morning, like, it happens between coaches and players all the time. That's fine. But clearly it has been a source of disruption within this club this entire
Mm-hmm.
season. And that's why it's a concern to me because it's like, okay, you're just getting on track. You can't afford to have a setback like this. You can't
Right.
afford to let this type of thing keep creeping back in the locker room. That's the reason that it was the biggest concern for me because it's like, man, it's taken a lot for you guys to get over some of the humps and some of the allegations and the issues that we've all heard of the last few weeks. And now you go and do this. All we can do is hope that they right the ship because they're in Chicago playing a team. Hey, if you think there's an implosion at State Farm Arena, you need to go check out the United Center. That's a straight up implosion because, yeah, that's a hot mess. But, speaking of hot messes, Locked On Sports Today will tell you all of the messes, all of the cray-cray that we have seen across the sports landscape. They'll give you guys reaction to a really sad day for Atlanta because guess what? We're not getting the AFC title game. So they're going to give you their reaction to Chiefs Bengals Part 2 for the AFC Championship game. They'll also, of course, talk about that NFC title game and whether or not the Mr. Irrelevant guy, Brock Purdy, has a chance in the city of brotherly love. Anything else you want to hear, check them out where you check us out. The Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you download your podcasts. And just like you guys love all the tea that we give you and for the culture, they give you the tea too. It's called Your Take of the Day. So don't forget, check out Locked On Sports Today right after you check out ATL Day Ones.
Absolutely. And what you all also need to jump in on, how about this? If you've been listening or watching us and you have not subscribed or downloaded or turned that notification on, what the heck are you waiting on? Locked On Sports Atlanta family. They already a part of this thing. They already subscribed. They already have downloaded. They've already turned their notification bell on YouTube. They've done all they can do. If you have not done either of those things that I just listed, go ahead and do that. We are trying to make our way to 6,000 subscribers. And if you like just listen to the audio, we got that for you as well. On wherever you download your podcast, you can get us there too. So yeah. But T, this is for the culture. It is this intersection between sports, entertainment, and the culture. Sometimes whatever the hell we want to talk about. Because that's how we get down on this show. Today is no different. How about this, T? We talked about Ed Reed going on the social media rant and raging and ranting and complaining and exposing, quote unquote, what's going on down at Bethune-Cookman. But now it looks like this won't happen. And on Saturday morning, Reed took the social media and announced his contract would not be ratified by the university after the agreement between the parties had been in place. And later, via Instagram, he claimed he was being forced out of the position by BCU because he refused to, quote unquote, step down. Now, T, I know how you felt about the social media rant, and I've talked about on this show and on social media as well about how I felt about that rant. And I felt like a 44-year-old man should not be airing his grievances out on IG Live.
Right.
Period. So, but I think that this situation is kind of sad to me because I really feel like both parties needed each other. And I think you used a really good analogy about signing those divorce papers a little bit too soon.
Yeah, I think so. I would have preferred to see you guys just, I don't even know if you've made it to the altar quite yet, so I'm going to go with premarital counseling.
Right, yeah, there we go.
You might want,
premarital counseling.
You might want to go back to the pastor's office and see if he can help you guys find the commonality that made you fall in love in the first place. Because there was something that Bethune-Cookman saw in Ed Reed that made them say, hey, we'll take a Deion Sanders, Jackson State-like chance on Ed Reed. And there was something that Ed Reed saw in Bethune-Cookman that said, hey, I want to kind of start my burgeoning coaching career at Bethune-Cookman. So you saw something there that worked for you. Whatever it was that didn't work for you, I'm interested to see, like, how serious was that you guys couldn't just air out your grievances? It could be as simple as Reggie Theus, who is their AD and, of course, their head basketball coach, just sit down and say, hey, man, listen, yes, a lot of what you said is correct in terms of the facilities and how things move slowly, et cetera, et cetera. But man, I've learned we don't air that in public. Let's talk about this thing. You and I, we played at the highest level for years. So why don't we talk about what we can do to maybe get this program on the right track? I really wish that conversation could have maybe taken place, or maybe the administrators could have said, hey, for now, one of the things we want you to do is kind of learn how to keep quiet. I remember talking to a PR person at the MEAC SWAC Challenge at that press conference. That's her whole job. Her whole job was literally following a coach from point A to point B and making sure he said what he was supposed to say and did what he was supposed to do. I just think this was a premature departure, but it reeks of our culture, which is, we're going to fire you, we're going to cancel you, we're going to move away from you just as quickly as we can. And we're like, wow, no, that could have been a real opportunity for both of them.
Yeah. And I think when you look at the entirety of the situation, it's the struggles that both parties had or have, that could be worked out, those, and it wasn't something that, because to be honest with you, when after the social media rant, I was just like, I didn't see him being fired. Like, I was like, okay, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, okay, like, let's have a conversation. Let's talk about this thing. And like we mentioned earlier, like, let's handle this thing like some adults.
Yeah.
let's have some real conversations. Like, let's make sure we do what we say we're going to do. If
right.
Ed Reed had agreed he did agree to become a head coach, and they told you some things that they weren't starting to do within
Right.
that couple of weeks that you were a head coach,
Right.
yeah, man, like you got to give it some time, like,
Yeah.
and then if you're starting to do things that you feel like you shouldn't be doing by cleaning out your office or cleaning up on having players clean up trash on the thing, but
Right.
it's just a lot of things that I felt like a lot of people just made some assumptions. They jumped to made a lot of assumptions, and this could have easily been worked out. Like I said, behind the scenes and having adult conversations, or you can have it through your representation.
Yeah.
Like, I
For
know you got
starters, yeah.
yeah. You
Yeah.
can. You like, hey man, Ed needs this, and you all said you all going to do this, and y'all have not even started to do it just yet. So all of those things, like. That's why I feel
Yeah.
like, and then for him to not be a real social media guy, so he says, and this just really reeks of people, these two parties just missing out on the opportunity. And I really feel like it could have been resolved,
Yeah.
because
I think
I
so.
don't like having conversations about HBCU issues, because you know what that brings, T? And it's the part where I really get upset. People who didn't go to one, didn't give a damn about one, they want to start all of a sudden start having opinions on HBCUs now. Like,
Yeah.
no, stay where you at. Stay
Mhm.
over there. Stay over there where you are. Because you don't need to have anything to say about HBCU, because you
Right.
chose not to go one. And
Yeah.
I ain't saying you have to, but if it's an
Right.
issue about what's going on at an HBCU campus, you need
Mhm.
to stay in your lane,
Yeah.
and make sure you be quiet about all of these situations, because I just don't like people who just like to speak on stuff and they don't know what the hell they're talking about. I'm so sorry about that, T. Thank you.
It's fine. And I think that it'll have more layers to it. I mean, we're still gathering information about it. And hey, listen, as we always do, we'll bring you more info and reaction to it as we get it, because I feel like there are going to be some additional pieces of information, some additional just some of it may be speculation, but I feel like there are going to be some allegations. One's going to say this, one's going to say that. And somewhere in the middle will be the truth. And on this show, that's what we'll bring you.
Absolutely. Speaking of truth, how about this? We will be back tomorrow, and we'll be talking about Trae Young, DeJounte Murray. Do they get it done in Chicago on the road, going for their 5th win on the road? And we know how lowly they've been on the road. So that is definitely a positive to be talking about. We'll discuss all that next on ATL Day Ones. And we want to just say thank you for making ATL Day Ones your first listen of the day. And remember, we're free and available wherever you download your podcast. So make sure you check out Locked On Sports today. Find it where you find us. How about that? They have all the hot topics of the day. Go talk about Brock Purdy and all them good folks about the championships game going on this weekend. Will Patrick Mahomes come back? You can find all that right there on Locked On Sports today. Go ahead and check them out. And last but not least, I want you guys to make sure that you share love, show love, and most importantly, spread love.